Luki Chuzarikowski finished as one of the top 10 competitors in the mile event at the prestigious Dr. Sander Invite this past weekend, so I'm using this opportunity to take full credit for that since I bought him Dunkin' the morning of the race and therefore provided the fuel necessary to finish so highly. Other LaSalle teams can DM me on Instagram, at Siobhan G. Nolan, if they would like to take advantage of my nutrition services. Hello, I'm Siobhan Nolan.
And I'm Libby Gilliland. I may not have bought Dunkin' for a star athlete, but I did call up some of my golfers to give us a look into their spring season, so I can contribute something to this show. You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, Sportsline.
Welcome to Sportsline. It's been another jam-packed week for our sports teams, but you already know we've got all of your recaps coming up shortly.
And later, live from the Comm Studio, it's Saturday night. Just kidding, it's Thursday. But we do have a live interview with golf's Hannah Bosler and Matt Warner.
But first, let's take a look at our Sportsline top 3.
Number 1, Elle Mancini was named the Atlantic 10 Track Performer of the Week after her record-breaking performance at the Dr. Sander Invitational this past weekend. The senior recorded a time of 9 minutes and 20 seconds in the 3,000-meter event, taking third place and breaking LaSalle's record for the event previously set by Rachel Papin in 2006. Her time also placed her first in the conference this season.
Number 2, speaking of the Mancinis, Elle, Liz, and Christine Mancini were all named NovaCare Student Athletes of the Week this week. Elle and Liz both broke the school's record in the 3,000 meters, while Christine broke the record in the 800 meters.
Number 3, water polo's Tatum Lomax was named MAC Rookie Player of the Week after earning 9 points over a 5-game stretch. She recorded a season-high 3 points in a game against Pamina. The South African native had a total of 16 points off 9 goals and 7 assists this season.
So the Mancinis, I mean, we can expect nothing but greatness from them, but to have Elle be named the A10 Track Performer of the Week, to have all 3 sisters named the NovaCare Student Athletes of the Week, I mean, this has got to be one of the best weeks overall for them in their LaSalle careers.
Yeah, you never really see 3 athletes in one Student Athlete of the Week nomination, but that just shows how impressive they are, and it's great seeing them continue to perform even early in the season. It sets up a really great rest of the season for them. Yeah,
to have Elle and Liz both break the same record is pretty amazing. I was a little confused when I saw that at first, but then I saw that both of their times broke the school record, so that's got to be really special for them. And then I also want to, highlight the Tatum Lomax thing that we talked about, to have 9 goals over 5 games, to be on that offensive, strong point after such a tiring stretch of games. I think that's really impressive, especially considering how tiring water polo schedule can be. Yeah, 5 games in a row this weekend is no easy feat, and for her to continue to play well, especially in that she's a grad student. She needs to be there for the rest of the team and be a leader, and she's really come in and shown that she can be a leader and can be at the top of this team. And, Tatum Lomax is a name that we talk about a lot for women's water polo, so it's really great to see that she's been stepping up, as you said, coming up as a leader. And, water polo, it's not an easy schedule to have. They have a lot of games coming up. They have a little bit of a break this week, but I'm really interested to see where her and Kalista Hyam also, where kind of they step up in the offense as well. Yeah. And that's it for top 3. Now let's see how our teams did in this week's recaps. On Saturday, the men's basketball team enjoyed a hard-fought, scrappy game against George Mason. Clifton Moore continued his dazzling offensive record this season by scoring 5 of LaSalle's first 7 points, but neither team would lead by more than 4 points in the early minutes. Josh Nickelberry sank his first of many 3-pointers in this game to allow the Explorers to edge out the Patriots 16-15. Nickelberry was also at the head of a 14-3 run that would give LaSalle a lead of 34-22, its largest up to that point. George Mason made a slight dent in their deficit, but LaSalle would go into halftime up 43-36. In the second half, the Patriots narrowed LaSalle's lead to 1 before Jack Clark's 3 pushed the home team ahead 56-52. It would be back and forth buckets from then on, with essential points from Christian Wright and Jameer Brickus, seeing the Explorers lead 81-75 as the clock ticked down. Tempers were flaring, George Mason's coach got ejected, and LaSalle continued to be awful at free throws, but it didn't matter, seeing as they snapped their 5-game losing streak for an 83-78 win. Unfortunately, they got right back on the L train against St. Louis, no Lionel Simmons pun intended. Josh Nickelberry got the Explorers off to a good start, knocking down one of his signature three-pointers, but the Billikens were able to quickly jump ahead to a 15-7 lead in the opening minutes. Clifton Moore's three-pointer, his 9th point of the game, would help LaSalle catch up, but they went into halftime down 41-27. Jameer Brickus' first 5 points in the second half cut the deficit back down to single digits, but the St. Louis offense couldn't be stopped, and the Explorers had to take a 75-57 beatdown.
Women's basketball faced a tough weekend, falling short in games against VCU and Rhode Island at home. Friday night against VCU, the Rams set the tone, leading by 10 points with less than 5 minutes left in the first quarter. The Explorers bounced back, coming out of a timeout with a quick 7-2 run, cutting the lead to just 5 at the end of the second quarter. The Rams stayed in it, but back-to-back threes from Kayla Spurl would tie the game 31-31 going into the half. The game stayed close until a 6-0 run from the Rams in the fourth quarter. This put VCU up 9 points with less than 7 minutes to play. The Explorers couldn't make up the difference and fell to the Rams 62-56. Sunday night, the Explorers were back in Tom Gola Arena to take on Rhode Island. Kayla Spurl came out hot with back-to-back buckets to start the game. The Explorers jumped to a 10-2 start that was quickly halted by an 8-0 run by Rhode Island. LaSalle trailed by just 3 points heading into the final quarter of play. Made free throws put Amy Jacobs back and the Explorers back on top, but a 6-0 run from Rhode Island through the last minute and a half of the game would lead the Explorers to fall 66-60. This brings the Lady Explorers to 5-5 in the A-10.
Track and field was back in New York for the Dr. Sander Invitational, and unsurprisingly, they took care of business. For the women, Elle and Liz Mancini both set school records in the 3,000 meters, with Elle finishing 3rd and Liz finishing 4th, both breaking the previous record time of 9 minutes and 22 seconds. Christine Mancini also set a school record, this one for the 800 meters, with a time of 2 minutes and 9 seconds. In sprints, Nevaeh Davis placed 4th in the 60-meter dash with a time of 7.96 seconds, while Aaliyah Allen rounded out the top 10 with a time of 8.03 seconds. On the men's side, Ibrahim Kadir earned 3rd place in the 3,000 meters with a time of 8 minutes and 7 seconds. Tayanga Mbambo and Ryan Pitak would join Kadir in the top 10, finishing 8th and 10th respectively. Liam Rivard nabbed 6th place in the 800 meters with a time of 1 minute and 52 seconds, while Luke Uchu-Zerakowski completed in the top 10 showings for the team, placing 8th in the mile with a time of 4 minutes and 8 seconds.
Women's water polo kicked off a 5-game stretch this weekend with a game against Cal Baptist. The Explorers would hold the lead after the first period, with Emma Gurich recording a shutout, and the Explorers scoring 2 goals. The second period spelled trouble, as Cal Baptist would outscore the Explorers 6-3, meaning LaSalle went into the third period down 6-5. Both teams scored 4 goals, but the Lancers would take the 13-11 win after the fourth period. Next up, the team battled it out against Brown University. Coming off a loss, the team was looking to bounce back with an explosive start. The Blue and Gold was up 3-1 heading into the intermission. The deficit remained at 2 going into halftime. However, the Bears knotted the contest at 6-6 heading into the final quarter. Brown opened up the scoring in the fourth quarter, putting themselves up by 1, but were answered back by the Explorers to once put the game at a tied score with just over a minute left. The Bears made one final push, scoring 2 insurance goals, making the score 9-7. The Blue and Gold were able to put one more in the net, but could not sneak another one past, finishing with a final score of 9-8. Junior Sarah DeFuscio and freshman Francesca Coe were among game leaders with a pair of goals, each DeFusco tallying 2 more assists.
They concluded the second day of the event with a matchup against St. Francis. The Explorers took an early 4-2 lead heading into the second quarter of play. The Red Flash would score 2 goals while the Explorers tallied on 1 more goal, making it a 5-4 game heading into the half. LaSalle scored 3 more goals and spoiled the Red Flash's perfect record with an 8-6 win. The Explorers then matched up against Pomona. The match was even until Pomona pulled away in the second period with a 3-1 lead. The Explorers were able to tie it at 7, but Pomona pulled away in the last period to win the game 8-9. The final game would be up against Harvard, who blew past LaSalle with 4 goals in the first period, as opposed to the Explorers' single goal. The second period brought much of the same, with Harvard adding 2 goals to the total, putting them ahead 6-1 at halftime. The final 2 periods saw the Crimson outscore the Explorers 9-4, leaving the Blue and Gold with a 15-5 loss. The lung capacity that it takes to talk about water polo games is honestly pretty amazing, and not the schedule, not the results that they would have wanted, but a 5-game stretch this early in the season when they have new people, they're still kind of shaking off the rest. I think a couple results that aren't ideal are to be expected.
Yeah, and the lung capacity to play water polo is probably even worse.
Yeah.
5 games in a row is a lot, but I think it's early in the season. They have a lot to learn, a lot of games, a lot of quarters, and they're seeing who the leaders of the team are, and they can build off that going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, and I really thought that we were going to have to kind of eat our words about men's basketball and, them having to get back into training and, get more in the gym. But, the game against George Mason wasn't an easy win for them. And the St. Louis game, honestly, was pretty embarrassing the way that they played. I think our biggest problem on the men's side is the fact that they try to shoot too many threes. They don't want to drive and be aggressive on offense and try to get past the opposition defense. And, Josh Nickelberry can only score so many threes, and the rest of the team can't really shoot them at all. They're terrible at free throws. It's just not a team of shooters. And I think that ambitious shooting is suited for a team that's better, and that's just not the men's basketball team right now.
Yeah, they started off the game against Rhode Island with back-to-back technical fouls, which is not what you want to do. It doesn't set a good tone for the game.
Not at all.
So they're already losing, and it just got worse. They were struggling to get ball movement and make shots. Again, like you said, they just shoot threes because they can't get it inside. They don't have the big men that they need. And they're just really struggling this season, and hopefully they can get some recruits in next year.
Yeah, and I have to say I'm disappointed with the women as well, because back-to-back losses is very unlike them, especially at Gola. They played a bit better, but they have the same problem. They try to shoot beyond their abilities, and I appreciate the ambition. I appreciate the fact that they want to get those points, but it's just not really coming through for them, so they need a different game plan for that.
Yeah, we saw a few games ago their turnover ratio was really good. They were scoring a lot of points off their defense. The past couple games, we didn't see that same fire in their defense, the same energy, and they were just shooting threes, and that's not going to get you a win if you're not shooting well.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can turn it around, but that's it for recaps. And when we come back, Hannah Bossler and Matt Werner join us on desk to give some insight to golf's upcoming spring season. Stay tuned.
What if one day you went to that secret place, that spot that only you know about, and instead of what you came for, you found this? What would you do? Would you stop and give it some thought? The truth is, all drug use comes with risk. Before those risks become real, before drugs turn your life upside down, before drugs take their toll on you and your family, know that there is help. You can quit. If you or someone you love is struggling with drug use or prescription drug misuse, call 1-800-662-HELP for 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, or go to samhsa.gov/knowtherisks.
Welcome back. Interviews are great, but live interviews are even better. And we get to welcome golf's Hannah Bosler and Matt Warner.
So welcome to Sportsline, guys. So you're coming off a fall season in golf, and can you give us a recap of the fall season and how the team performed up to your expectations?
So for the women's team, we played in 5 events, and we exceeded every single expectation that we had set for ourselves. We performed really well, and we had a great time doing it, and so we're excited to carry that momentum into the spring.
On the men's side, we had good exposure. We were able to get the freshmen in the lineup a lot, and all 3 freshmen got to play at least 2 events. So I think we're going to have a good spring season. It was a good preparation for the spring season and for conferences.
Yeah, great to get the freshmen involved. And Matt, in the fall you won your first event at the City Six, your last tournament of the fall. How did that fuel your motivation going into the spring?
I'm really excited for the spring, and I definitely feel like I could win again now, but you know, it's never an easy thing to do. But mentally, it's just really hard to continue to play good throughout an entire round. So to be able to do it is giving me confidence going into the spring season, and I'm excited.
Absolutely.
And now that you guys are officially in preparation for the spring season, what have you been doing now that the weather is finally getting warmer and more ideal for playing golf?
You want to start?
Yeah, so throughout the winter, we stuck indoors and we just worked on fundamentals that we hope transfer out to the course when we start with the warmer weather. So starting especially this week with the nice 50-degree weather, we've been going outside and just trying to get as many reps in as we can, whether it's hitting balls, working on putting, chipping, or just even going and playing, just enjoying our time together and trying to get those reps in as we start.
Yeah, and when the weather hasn't been as good, we've been practicing inside in the golf room here on campus. And I think that the whole team's been utilizing that pretty well and keeping our skills sharp over the winter.
Yeah. And Hannah, as a sophomore, last year was your last time going to the MAC conference tournament in Florida. What did you learn last year, and how is your motivation and your goals changing going into this year's MACs?
So Florida golf is way different than Philly golf, so it was a great experience for our whole team being young to be able to all play last year at conferences. Some things that we learned were just course positioning and short game were things that we really needed to fine tune in order to be successful in this upcoming year. And I think our team has gotten a lot of confidence over the past couple months, just really working on that together and seeing our skills translate on the course when we start to do that. So we're excited to see where that will take us and how much more comfortable we'll be on this course coming up.
Yeah.
And Matt, as a senior with a lot of experience, you really know what you're doing on golf. What are your expectations going into A10s this year?
A10s is always stressful because you kind of build up your whole season in preparations for A10s. So I'm going to try not to put too much expectations on myself, and I hope my team can do the same, and just that we can stay relaxed and play our game. It's just hard when you get in the moment that you've been preparing for all season.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. And a very exciting thing that golf is doing this year, which we typically don't do, is traveling far away. You all are going out west a lot. Hannah, you're from Colorado. Matt, from Oregon. You all know how to play out west. Can you describe to us what are the differences between a Philly golf course and just the environment in a Philadelphia area compared to out west?
Well, the biggest difference is definitely the grass type. I'm a lot more comfortable on the West Coast grass, which is usually a little more thin and less sticky. So when you miss the greens here on the East Coast, the rough is hard to play out of, and it's a big transition. So I'm excited to go back to where I'm comfortable.
And that actually segues pretty great into our next question. So when you guys go out to Washington, Matt, you're going to be very close to home. So how is that going to feel for you to just be a lot closer than you are out here in Philly?
I'm so excited. You know, my family's only got to see me play one event over my 4 years, so they're all going to be coming out to support, and it's only a few hours from where I live, and I just am so excited. I'm so glad my coach was able to get this in the event schedule this spring, and it's going to be a great way to end my college career.
And Hannah, would you say you prefer playing Philly golf or Colorado golf?
I'd say just growing up on Colorado golf, that's definitely just a whole nother comfort zone, but I've grown to start to learn to love Philly golf.
It's something else, I'll tell you.
Yeah. And you guys are at kind of different experience levels, but what in the overall LaSalle team has kind of helped you grow the most and helped you improve your game the most?
I'd say probably the team culture. I feel like you always just have a support system when you go out there. You can go and just experiment with trial and error, and you learn new things from each person's game, and we kind of get to merge it and learn new skill sets. So I think that's definitely the most beneficial part for me.
And for me, I'd say it's the competition factor. Just being able to play with good players is always good. And I get to play with my teammates every day, and they push me to better myself, and I hope I do the same for them.
Yeah, and getting away from kind of the team goals, because at the end of the day, it is an individual sport. So do you all have individual goals going into the spring season?
I would say for me, it's just to get more reps in and just gain experience. We're here for another 2.5 years, and so just learning how to better myself for both individual and team goals to be achieved.
I obviously haven't figured everything out after 4 years, so I'm just still trying to string together, 3 good rounds. A golf tournament is over multiple days generally, and it's just hard to put together multiple good rounds consecutively. So, gonna try to get that done this season.
And I have to ask, I wasn't aware that you guys had a spring season. I thought it was just a fall thing. So how do you kind of prepare doing it across 2 seasons and balancing that work ethic when you're basically playing the entire year?
I'd say that we don't really necessarily have an off season ever. So it's just making sure that we're staying sharp and taking days off when we need it, but making sure that we're still pushing through on days that we may not necessarily feel like going to the course. But I think it definitely helps to have your team behind you going through the same exact thing.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, golf is an individual sport, so it is kind of on us individually to keep our games sharp over the off season. But the fall season, if done right, can help lead us into a strong spring season, and I think we both managed to accomplish that on our teams this year.
And so since we have, a lot of golf representation on Sportsline now, I'm interested to learn a little bit more about the teams. So we're going to do a little bit of team superlatives. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. You tell me which teammate comes to mind and why. And it's okay, you can embarrass your teammates, it's fine. So I first want to know, who is the best dancer on each of your guys' teams?
Ours is Libby. She used to be an Irish dancer, so I'd give her that.
Okay, cool.
I can't say I've seen many people on my team dance. I'm going to have to go with Christian Fortis.
Okay. Libby, you want to break out an Irish dance right now?
I think I'm good. That is a fun fact I didn't want to share. Thank you, Hannah.
Okay, and who is the best singer on your guys' team?
I would say probably Meg Ruffing. She knows how to throw down a couple raps. She's pretty good at it. So.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, can we include our coaches in this?
Yeah,
I'm
of course.
going to have to go with our head coach, Scott Yergolevich.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And who is the most likely to oversleep and miss a golf practice?
Ooh, I'd say probably Grace Hickey. Love her, but we could all be a little more punctual.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go with Christian Fortis again.
Nah. And who is the most likely to forget their luggage or forget something important when you guys travel?
Meg Ruffing again. She forgot her hat on the way to Max last year, so.
That's not good.
Definitely Alex Geekus.
And finally, who is the best golfer out of the 3 of you on desk right now?
Ooh.
That's a tough one. Hannah beat me last week, so it's hard to say.
I guess we'll battle it out in the spring.
I guess we will see. But thank you guys so much for joining us on desk. We appreciate you coming out to get interviewed about the spring season.
Thanks for having us.
Mental illness is not always easy to see.
Third line, please.
DEPRESSION.
Mental illness doesn't show up on a scale.
Bipolar?
Sorting out a mental health concern is not something to attempt on your own.
Anxiety. I thought so.
Like many health conditions, help for mental illness takes professional diagnosis and treatment. And the sooner you seek treatment, the better.
Look at that. 6,000 steps and PTSD.
If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. Find out what to do. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support.
Using meth taught me everything about freedom. only not like you think. It taught me how easy it is to lose your freedom. How meth can take control until you find yourself doing whatever meth tells you to do. Before you get there, while you still can, take a stand for yourself. If you feel yourself losing your freedom to meth, ask for help. Accept the help. It's worth it. You have the power to be truly free and be the person you want to be. I know. I'm Jan, and I'm free from meth.
If you or someone you know is struggling with meth, call 1-800-662-HELP for 24-hour free and confidential treatment referral. Learn more at samhsa.gov/meth.
We've got another full week of Explorer Sports ahead of us. Here are all the events you should be on the lookout for.
The track team split up this week to compete in 2 meets this weekend. Some will travel to Staten Island to compete in the Fast Track National Invite. Meanwhile, the others will go to Boston to compete in the Valentine Classic. Both meets will take place from Friday the 11th to Saturday the 12th.
Men's and women's basketball both travel to Richmond, Virginia to take on the Spiders. The men play on Saturday the 12th and the women play on Sunday the 13th. Finally, swimming and diving will compete in the Atlantic 10 Championships from Wednesday the 16th to Thursday the 17th.
So a very exciting thing for swimming and diving, they have their A10s coming up, and I really am thinking that they're going to do well. It hasn't been the best season for them. They're bringing in a new coach. They're bouncing back from kind of thinking that they had the program cut, so I'm excited to see how they perform in A10s.
Yeah, we talked about later with the golf team that A10s is what you work all season for.
Absolutely.
So hopefully all the swimmers and divers are on the top of their game and ready to compete and have a good mindset going in.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how the track team will perform the 2 different meets since they won't have a full team, but they're going to do well as usual. And that just about wraps it up for us this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorer Report, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com. You can also check out the digital edition of the Collegian, which now features Sportsline content.
And the poll of today is, who can shoot more 3-pointers, me or Siobhan?
She's actually played basketball before. But for our entire Sportsline team, I'm Siobhan Nolan.
And I'm Libby Gilliland. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the game.